A new NFL season is upon us, and that means it's time for some season predictions. I'm going to be predicting the winners of each division, the playoffs, the Super Bowl, and player awards. So if you guys want to skip to the player awards, the Super Bowl, the playoffs, or even your favorite team's division, you can do that by going down in the description, and I will have some timestamps there for you. But first, let's begin with the AFC West, and I have the Kansas City Chiefs winning that division yet again. But I also have the Los Angeles Chargers putting together an excellent season, led by Jim Harbaugh. Justin Herbert is a guy who can put together MVP seasons, and then the Broncos and the Raiders will round it out. A decent division overall, no terrible teams, but Kansas City still runs that division. The AFC North, my favorite team's division, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I have them going 9-8, but the Baltimore Ravens winning the division going 10-7. The Browns going 9-8 and the Bengals going 8-9. This is a division where each team is going to be throwing punches until the very end. Any team could win this division, and unfortunately, the best team may not even make the playoffs. The AFC East still belongs to Buffalo, in my opinion. The Dolphins and the Jets are right there, but this is another division where these guys are going to be throwing punches the entire time. I think the Bills, led by Josh Allen, who can put together an MVP level season. I think the Bills will take care of business and win that division. The Dolphins and Jets will be battling it out as well. And then finally, the AFC South, the weakest division, in my opinion. The Houston Texans, I think, will win it, going 9-8. And then the Jags and the Colts, they're 500 teams to me, but they don't have what it takes, I don't think, to win that division. The Titans, I think, could be one of the worst teams in football this season, but I have the Houston Texans winning the AFC South. Getting us started with the NFC, how about the NFC West? I think this one belongs to San Francisco, going 11-6, but the Rams, I think, are a sneaky team led by Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford in his veteran years, but I think they have a sneaky good offense. The defense could also be pretty solid. The Seahawks, I have them going 10-7, and the Arizona Cardinals, I think they're going to be a lot better than they have been in the last couple of years. Kyler Murray finally healthy and bringing in a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the Cardinals will have a solid season, but unfortunately just miss out. The NFC North is going to be led by the Detroit Lions. I have them going 11-6 as well. The Green Bay Packers right behind them, 10-7. And then Chicago, 8 wins is what I predict for them. And I think that that's probably pretty realistic. I think Caleb Williams, as much as I don't really like him, I think he is the best quarterback from this rookie class. Unfortunately, Minnesota will be without J.J. McCarthy, so that hurts their chances at being relevant at all. I think they're going to have a down year. They could have a bad year, but maybe it helps them get an early draft choice to help J.J. McCarthy when he's finally healthy next season. The NFC East has to be the most boring division in football, in my opinion. I just don't like the Cowboys. I don't like the Eagles. The Commanders, 7-10. I think they'll be good. Jaden Daniels, I think, will eventually put together a pretty decent season. And then the New York Giants, 4-13. I think they are probably the worst team in the NFL. Without Daniel Jones, this is a team that may not win a single game. So that tells you about the Giants. The defense really solid. I think the offense is just extremely weak. And this is a loaded NFC. And then finally, the last division is going to be the NFC South, and I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning that division. A lot of people are probably going to pick Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons to win that division. No, I got Baker Mayfield having an excellent season this year. I think the offense could be really good. Baker last year played really good, and I think he's going to lead the Buccaneers to a division-winning title in the NFC South. The Falcons will be right there battling it out with them, but then you have the New Orleans Saints and Carolina Panthers at the bottom. Two teams that are not very good. Before we get to my playoff predictions, let's give you some awards. I'm going to start off with the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think it will be Caleb Williams. I watched him at USC and he was really good. I watched him in the preseason and he looked just as good as he did in college. I think Caleb Williams, like I said, as much as I don't like him, I think he is going to be the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And I think the Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be rookie Dallas Turner, the edge rusher for the Minnesota Vikings. Admittedly, I didn't watch him a whole lot in college because he was kind of blocked. The spotlight was blocked by Will Anderson. But once Will Anderson declared and he left, Dallas Turner was the clear number one player on that defense, and he was really good for Alabama. I think he's going to have an excellent season on a Vikings team that's going to struggle, but I think he'll be one of the few bright spots on that team. Offensive Player of the Year, I have CeeDee Lamb. I think this is pretty obvious. It was either CeeDee Lamb or Christian McCaffrey for me, but I do think it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to have an excellent season, something like last year, but a complete season. I think he could potentially go over 2,000 yards receiving this year, so look out for CeeDee Lamb to be the Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year is no question going to be TJ Watt. He probably should have won it last year. He should have won it multiple times in his career. Unfortunately, he's just kind of got snubbed. And so I do feel for TJ Watt. I think he's the best defensive player in football. He's one of the top 5 players in football, in my opinion. I think TJ Watt will easily walk away with the Defensive Player of the Year this year. And then finally, my MVP is going to be Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys. I don't want them to be good at all, but I think Dak Prescott is going to put together a complete season, and I think he's going to run away with the MVP award. I think they're going to put together one of the better regular seasons, and I think Prescott throw into CeeDee Lamb. I think that's going to be a dynamic duo this year, and I think it's going to be the best duo in the NFL. Let's move on to the playoffs here. It's going to be the Los Angeles Chargers and the Houston Texans here in the wild card. The Texans will be home, but I'm going to have Justin Herbert, led by Jim Harbaugh, and the Los Angeles Chargers pull off the upset on the road. I think they're a better team than the Texans, and I think the Texans are probably the worst division winner in the AFC. I think the Chargers will win this game. Next game is going to be in Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills will host the Miami Dolphins, and we saw it last year. Tua cannot play in cold weather, and I think this is going to be a cold weather game. I think Josh Allen has an excellent day, and they go on to beat the Miami Dolphins. And the last wild card game in the AFC is going to be the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Jets. I think this is where Aaron Rodgers' luck runs out, and I think this is probably where Aaron Rodgers calls it quits. I think Lamar Jackson finally gets it done in the playoffs, beats the New York Jets at home, and they will advance to the divisional. Moving over to the NFC now, with Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Los Angeles Rams. And I think Sean McVay is probably going to win Coach of the Year. If I had to give a Coach of the Year prediction, it would be Sean McVay. I think this Rams team is going to be a lot better than people expect, and I have them pulling off the upset on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to move on in the playoffs. This right here is probably the most exciting matchup of the wild card, in my opinion, if my predictions are accurate. It's going to be the Green Bay Packers and the San Francisco 49ers. And the Packers are a team that I think can make a run in the NFC. I think they're dangerous. I think Jordan Love is now into his final form, or his full form now. And I think he's going to hit his prime, and I think he will be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I think they do beat the San Francisco 49ers in this game. And the last one in the NFC is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions are a team that is hungry to get back to the playoffs. They were in the NFC Championship a year ago. They had the Niners on the ropes, and they just couldn't pull it off. I think Dan Campbell leads this Lions team to the NFC Divisional yet again. Speaking of the Divisional, here we go. Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens in the first matchup. And I think this is where Josh Allen's luck runs out. I think the Ravens get it done. I think Lamar Jackson gets it done. I think he's the guy that everybody is kind of worried about. Is Lamar Jackson washed up? Is he somebody that can't win playoff games? Is he overrated? That's a big question. I think he shuts everybody up, and I do think that they beat the Buffalo Bills. Everybody's predicting a down year for the Bills anyways. I think that the Ravens will pull off the win. And the other matchup is going to be a division rival matchup between the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs are going to win. I mean, you can't say that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are going to get back to the playoffs and be a one-and-done team. I think this would be an excellent season for Jim Harbaugh to take the Chargers all the way to the divisional and unfortunately lose to probably the best team in football still. So I think this is a good season for the Chargers, but I think their run ends here in Kansas City. I got the Chiefs moving on. Moving over to the NFC now, we have a homecoming for both quarterbacks. Stafford is going to be playing against the Lions, Goff playing against the Rams. This will be in Detroit, though, and I have the Detroit Lions smoking the Los Angeles Rams on their way to the NFC Championship game. I think that Matthew Stafford disrespected Detroit, and I think the Rams will go into Detroit and get smacked around. You know, when you disrespect your team that was so loyal to you, it's going to come back to bite you. I have the Lions moving on to the NFC Championship. And the Cowboys and the Packers. I know that I said Dak Prescott's winning MVP. I know that I said CeeDee Lamb is winning Offensive Player of the Year. But somebody that got disrespected all season is going to be Jordan Love. And I think he'll go into Jerry's world, and I think he'll lead his team to a victory. And I have the Green Bay Packers moving on to the NFC Championship to face their division rivals, the Detroit Lions. But before that game, we need to figure out who will win the AFC Championship. It's the Ravens versus the Chiefs in Kansas City. I think Patrick Mahomes has been here. He's done that. He's not worried about Lamar Jackson coming in and pulling off the upset. And that's why the Ravens will pull off the upset. I think Kansas City's going to overlook these guys because they're going to have their eyes on yet again another Super Bowl. And I think the Ravens are going to come in here and play tough defense. like they're going to probably do all season. I think Lamar Jackson will make the plays when he needs to make them. I have the Ravens moving on to the Super Bowl. They're going to go to the Superdome to take on who? Well, I think this game right here could be the best game of the season if it were to happen. The NFC Championship between the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. This right here would make a lot of people happy. A lot of people would love this game. And that's me. You know, I'm a Steelers fan, but this right here, if we could see a Packers-Lions NFC Championship, I think that would probably be the most viewed game. Obviously, Baltimore's beating Kansas City, and I'm going to have the Detroit Lions beat the Green Bay Packers in a classic. I think both of these teams will split the series in the regular season. In the rematch, in the NFC Championship game, I think this is going to be a battle. I think the Lions will come across with the victory here. And obviously, I'm speaking of this as if it's not hypothetical. That's because my predictions are going to be 100% accurate. So take it to the bank, take it to DraftKings, FanDuel, wherever you go to do your sports betting. Lions are going to the Super Bowl. And before I announce who I think will win the Super Bowl, last year I did a Super Bowl prediction, and I had the Niners take on the Jets in the Super Bowl. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers got hurt early in the season, so that was never going to happen for the Jets. But the Niners did go to the Super Bowl. So that means at least one of these teams are going to be playing in the Super Bowl. Will it be the Ravens? Will it be the Lions? And unfortunately, maybe the other team will have a bad year and not even make the playoffs. I hope that's not what happens. It would be sick if this was the actual Super Bowl matchup. But the team that I have winning the Super Bowl is going to be the Detroit Lions, led by Dan Campbell, an excellent wideout, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, a two-headed monster in the backfield, and Jared Goff leading that team. Aiden Hutchinson, somebody who came in, helped change the culture in Detroit. And I had the Lions beating the Ravens 27-24 in the Super Bowl, and Dan Campbell finally gets it done. That's going to do it for my 2024-2025 NFL season predictions. I hope they're accurate. If they're not, then it is what it is. I'd love to come back a year from now and look at what my predictions looked like, see how accurate they were. They're probably not going to be accurate at all, but we'll see. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.